in reality, it's because I realized that there is like a certain caliber of person that can keep up with me, right? And then you're either choosing to participate fully in this relationship.
That person in the beginning is showing me that they're not willing to be expressive. The first thought I'm going to say is, you maybe should move on. If there's an issue, like I want somebody, you might say, I want somebody who is comfortable expressing how they feel and what they think to me. We're going on a date. I have certain criteria that I'm looking for. I'm sure you have some criteria. I'm sure you have some criteria. Again, I said communication is very important to me. So if there's an issue, like I want somebody, you might say, I want somebody who is comfortable expressing how they feel and what they think to me. Now, I understand that we're getting to know each other and you're not going to pour your soul out to me overnight. I totally respect that because I'm not going to do that for you. But I'm hoping that over time, you see that I provide a warm and inviting space, that you want to talk to me about things, and that I will do that in return. Is that fair to say so far? Okay. So that's the expectation. That's the situation that we're setting there. If at that point, that person in the beginning is showing me that they're not willing to be expressive, the first thought I'm going to say is, you maybe should move on. You probably do not need to continue to engage with that person because they clearly do not want to give you what you want, at least at this time. And timing absolutely matters, even if it's a good person or a good fit.
Yeah.
What would you say to that?
I mean, I agree, right? And it kind of ties into the whole like point you made earlier about like relationships are voluntary, right? So you're just like exercising your autonomy not to engage in someone. Like me, I've gone on dates with men where I knew it wasn't going to work. Like
Right.
I'm very like with dating, I'm very picky. And it's funny because people are always like, you got nothing to worry about. I bet you've had so many boyfriends. I'm like, really? No. But in reality, it's because I realized that there is like a certain caliber of person that can keep up with me. Right. And then you're either choosing to participate fully in this relationship, or you are choosing to exercise your autonomy and you are choosing not to participate in it. Right. Because I mean, maybe I'm getting ahead, but in my past relationships, you know, I dated very strong men, you know, men who have very unique energies, personalities, like very center of attention type, you know, very funny, loud, expressive, like funny people. And, you know, my most recent relationship was with someone like that, but he was much more reserved than anyone I've dated historically. You know, I'm the more social one. I'm the more like outgoing one. And that to me was like a very new dynamic, but in a way I appreciated it because it helped me understand like I can kind of get along with almost everyone at this point. So I think at this stage in my life, for whoever I decide to take on as a partner next, it'll be kind of like, how do I adjust to that dynamic? Yeah. As opposed to like being very people pleasing. I think like historically, you know, I was in a relationship with someone for 4 years where he was an untreated person with bipolar disorder. So that took a big strain on me mentally. And it was an abusive relationship in the sense that there was a lot of manipulation, a lot of gaslighting, a lot of abandonment, you know. And then in my newer relationship, it manifested itself in bad ways. You know, I was like inherently holding a lot of things back because I didn't want to inconvenience my partner, because I wanted to be like the cool girlfriend or whatever, you know, the chill. Half the time I really was chill, but then, you know, the other half, you're kind of like, how do I verbalize this without coming off like a psycho? Because with the other guy, when I would verbalize even the littlest thing, it was like, we should break up. You know,
but that was more probably a function of what he was struggling with.
Of course. And I've learned like men are complicated creatures as much as women like to say men are stupid or this or that. We're all complicated. And I think whenever someone chooses to like enter or exit a relationship, a lot of the time the person who's making that decision, how they treat you is a reflection of how they see themselves.
I would submit to you, I think that's actually all people, not even just your partners. I think
I needed to hear that. Thanks.
Yeah.
no, I think it's true. I was actually saying this to a client earlier. Like, let me give an example. One of my mantras is I say, like, in order to expect the things that you want, you need to be prepared to give them first. So if for example, I know that I expect good communication, so I communicate well. I know that I demand respect because it's incredibly important to me. So I always offer respect first. So if you disrespect me, I can hold you accountable and say, hey, we're not going to do that because I don't even do that to you. And at some point you got to look in the mirror and be like, he's kind of right. So
yeah.
To me, it's because it's more about trying to mirror those expectations. So put the stuff out there that you know that you want in return. You want somebody to give you that warm, inviting space, then be the warm, inviting space, right? Because you know we don't want it to be disjointed where I want things from you that I'm not prepared to give to you. At some point, that can create frustration within the relationship. So when that point about people can be complicated, I fundamentally agree. However, I think understanding that people are inherently complicated, I would want to offer a certain level of patience and understanding to all people. That's going to be something that you're going to carry into any relationship with anybody that you're dealing with, colleague, friend, sibling, partner. It starts with how we fundamentally treat people. And then it's going to get more specialized the more you care about somebody because you're giving them more attention and time.
Yeah.
So if you see somebody, that's like that expression that people say, like, you'll know how a man treats you based on how he treats his mom. Like, where does that even come from? Because if you see him disrespecting his mom or his sister, you might be like, well, damn, if he treats the women in his life poorly, what should I expect? I could say that, like, if she treats her dad with certain disdain and contempt, what should I expect? I don't need you, dad. Like, I'm going to come into that space and be like, well, I can't beat him.
Yeah.
He made her. So what should I expect in that situation? That to me is like why those nuance of those perspectives, why they matter. Again, that foundation of those early years, they set the tone for how we see ourselves, what we think we deserve. How do we try to be more open-minded to compromise with somebody else? A lot of us don't want to compromise.
Yeah.
We say things like, hey, that's why I mentioned the swiping earlier. They're like, I'm not saying you all, and I'm glad you all don't feel that way. But I had two women who were y'all's age who sat on that couch and said, yes, I think that I can keep swiping until I find what I want.
They don't have a basic understanding of platforms and things, but
I mean, I get it.
It's true. It's a perception. I also think it's just like the social circles you run in.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's so much more. Like when you were talking about how you're like, there's like I feel like I'm never going to find anyone because like I know exactly like who I vibe with and who I don't. I think that's a confidence earned, right? Like once you've experienced like a fulfilling relationship, even if it didn't end
the best,
or you talk or you don't talk or who cares, like I feel like when you've gotten to the point where you're like, I know exactly the kind of person I am in a relationship and I am seeking someone to complement that is a very powerful amount of self-awareness that I think a lot of people don't have. Because like me in a relationship, I know who I am. I know I am a very strong partner to whoever I'm with. Yeah. But at the same time, like in being a strong partner, if your partner is not strong, like that's where you start identifying, like, does this serve me? And one